Hello everyone, this is group 1. Our topic is invasive species, ecosystem services, and human well-being. Our group contains of Johnny, Riley, V, Carly, and Rachel. What are invasive alien species? Invasive alien species are non-native species that endanger ecosystems, habitats, or other species and cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human health, animal, or plant health. Invasive species are primarily spread by human activities, often unintentionally. They are commonly spread by ships that carry goods from different areas of the world. There are more than 6,500 invasive species. They are currently on the rise. This poses a threat to plants, animals, microorganisms, valued ecosystems, and human and wildlife health. An example of an invasive species is the zebra mussel. They are native to fresh waters in Eurasia.
This slide will focus on the cost of invasive species. Invasive species like the acacia tree are used in southern Africa as a major resource for thatching, medicine, and firewood by local poor rural communities. The economic value of firewood alone is 2.8 million US dollars. Furthermore, they provide a lot of benefits for regulating services, and regulating services are benefits the ecosystem provides for other organisms, specifically humans. They provide benefits like pollination because they have higher photosynthetic rate, and feed because some plants provide an extra food source for animals like birds. They also provide extra firewood.
Invasive alien species can have complex and sometimes beneficial impacts on rural low-income communities in particular. For example, in South Africa, invasive acacia and pinus species have resulted in reduced stream flow and increased fire intensity. These species are important ecosystem goods that are now being used for thatching, timber, medicine, charcoal, and firewood by local communities. The economic value of the firewood alone is 2.8 million US dollars. Invasive alien species also interfere with basic ecosystem functions such as the provision of clean water and a stable climate. They could thus have underappreciated but widespread impacts on pollination, water purification, pest control, natural hazards, and climate mitigation services that are both cornerstone of fisheries, agriculture, and forestry, and fundamental to human well-being.
So in the next couple slides, I'm just going to talk about the synergies and trade-offs associated with impacts from invasive alien species. So this illustration from the article describes the impacts of woody plant invasive species and the ecosystem services in South Africa in particular. These trees were introduced and the shrubs have benefited the forest products industry and provide fuel wood and building supplies for local communities. However, these species have also led to a loss of hydraulical services with less water in the stream. These woody plants have invaded the native ecosystem, impacting the pollution services and displacing native plants that are used as tea and in medicine as well. The next illustration shows the impact of zebra mussels on ecosystems, specifically in the Great Lakes of the United States. So zebra mussels have been introduced to some aquatic environments because they are extremely efficient filter feeders that increase water clarity. However, zebra mussels clog water intake pipes, costing millions of dollars in damage to the industry and interfering with the flow of fresh water in and out of certain lakes. They serve as food for some native species and compete with others. The next illustration shows the impacts of feral pigs on the environment, specifically in Hawaii. Pigs provide positive goods and services to the community in the form of meat and cultural and religious value. However, these pigs also ransack food crops and negatively impact the range of services by uprooting the ferns. By knocking down and carving out these tree ferns from the pigs, they create breeding habitats that introduce mosquitoes, which host infectious diseases like malaria to the environment.
How to control invasive species. Controlling invasive species is more difficult than you might think. That's why we have control measures set in place to help regulate them. These are, but not limited to, biological, mechanical, chemical, pulling and digging, cultural control methods, and many more. Coming up with new control methods is hard. This is because you don't know what the species will be, and there are already multiple control measures set in place that it would be hard to come up with new ones. There are many ways people can help control the spread of invasive species. A good example would be to clean your hiking gear after you go hiking.
So we wanted to conclude our presentation by talking about how invasive species can impact us. And the closest example we found to Lexington, Kentucky was the bush honeysuckle. The plant can be found throughout Kentucky, but the most problematic areas are in the central region of the state, such as Louisville, Lexington, and other surrounding counties. The plant spreads easily. Its seeds are carried by many birds and other animals. It is extremely flexible and can grow anywhere, including the sides of rocks or even in heavily shaded areas. The plant creates increased competition for native plants. Invasive species pose as threats to the ecosystem and biodiversity. However, there are positive impacts on water purification and pest control. So we want to think of invasive species affecting more than just plants and animals. They also affect us humans. They affect our lifestyle, culture, and our communities.